let's be very clear here. The most egregious election interference crime that has ever been committed in U.S. history was committed by Hillary Clinton and the DNC, who paid a foreign spy, Christopher Steele, to invent a story about President Trump colluding with Vladimir Putin and the Russians to rig the 2016 election. They then convinced the Department of Justice to pretend that this was true and use that as justification to get an order from a secret court to spy on President Trump's campaign and people in President Trump's orbit. They also use this to wage a disinformation campaign. And I know I don't even like the word disinformation. I reject it. But I also will be playing by the same rules that the Democrats set. If they say that it's disinformation, misinformation, malinformation, whatever they want to call it these days, if they want to say that it's disinformation to make that claim, they better be held to their own standards. And yet, to this day, who has been held accountable for the Russia collusion hoax that was intended as election interference? Nobody. Nobody involved with it. Nobody from Peter Strzok to Lisa Page to Bruce Orr at the Department of Justice to James Comey to James Clapper to any of these people, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, all of these people were in the know. They all knew about it. And they're all walking free. Every single one of them. Every single one of them. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait a second. Hillary Clinton did have to reclassify in her campaign finance records when she claimed that she was paying a law firm for legal services, when she was actually paying a law firm to subcontract this foreign spy to write the Steele dossier. She had to reclassify that because it's not actually legal services. That's all. That's the only accountability that she ever faced. And yet President Trump is being told that because he questioned the outcome of the 2020 election, because there was evidence of electioneering that caused perhaps people who are valid voters to cast their votes in ways that are invalid and therefore shouldn't have been counted under the terms of our laws, they're going to put him in jail. And they will put him in jail. They absolutely will. Joe Biden said a year ago that he didn't want to run against President Trump. He said that he was going to defeat President Trump in 2024. How? By using the government to stop him. Take a look at this.
That G7 conversation was tied to your predecessor, who is about to launch another campaign. So how do you reassure them, if that is the reason for their questioning, that the former president will not return, or that his political movement, which is still very strong, will not once again take power in the United States?
Well, we just have to demonstrate that he will not take power by, if he does run, making sure he, under legitimate efforts of our Constitution, does not become the next president again.
Now, I know that's a little hard to understand because mumbly is senile, but what he said is he didn't say we're going to defeat him. He didn't say we're going to offer the American people our vision, Trump's going to offer his vision, and people are going to decide, and I think people are going to choose us. He didn't say anything like that. What he said was a euphemism for saying we're going to use the power of the federal government to stop him. We're going to try to hog-tie him with frivolous legal issues and indictments so that he can't run. So he can't run. And what's going to happen here is President Trump is going to go to jail. I don't say this because I'm trying to be doomsday. I'm saying this because I've watched exactly what the left is doing. I've analyzed what their playbook is, and their playbook is to put President Trump in jail. And they want him in jail before Election Day. They want to hold him under pretrial detention. The reason they want to hold him under pretrial detention is because they want the American people to go nuts. They want conservatives to riot. They want there to be political violence. They want this proverbial civil war that they always claim Republicans want. Actually, the Democrats want that. That's what the left wants. That's what the left is trying to foment. Because the moment that a conservative loses their head, the moment a Trump supporter becomes violent, then that's going to justify President Biden cracking down on everyone who is a Trump supporter. They want this. They desperately need you to commit an act of violence. Do not do it. Do not fall for their trip. They're leading you into this trap, leading you into this. They want you to feel hopeless. They want you to feel reckless. They want you to feel that there's like you're trapped, like there's nothing else you can do. And so you act out thinking that you're doing something right. Do not do that. They are manipulating you, and that's what they want you to do, because as soon as you do that, they'll crack down on your free speech. Anything that's related to conservative talking points, Republican talking points, and policy issues, support of President Trump will be labeled as actual violence, the way that President Trump's words about the 2020 election are labeled as actual violence and obstruction of an official proceeding and defrauding the United States. They will criminalize your speech and any speech that has to do with support of Trump if even one Trump supporter does something foolish. So don't do it. It's exactly what they want. The judge presiding over Trump, so this was done very specifically, the way that this case was laid out. President Trump obviously wants this to be moved out of the D.C. circuit because D.C. is the swamp. A jury pool in D.C. is going to be so biased against Trump. These are the swamp creatures that work in the administrative state, right? That's the residents of D.C. It's going to be so biased that it doesn't matter what the facts of the case are. He is going to be convicted. And the judge presiding over Trump is going to do everything to make that happen. This is the judge presiding over, let me bring this up on the screen. Give me 1 second. We're going to bring this up on the screen. Judge Tanya Chutkan. You see her picture there. She was appointed by Barack Obama, which doesn't necessarily mean that she's corrupt, but she is corrupt. The reason she's corrupt is we've talked about this often on the show, how everything that the special counsel is doing to President Trump right now, the fact that he's investigating him over January 6th, that he indicted him over free speech and accused him essentially of inciting a riot, an insurrection, of obstructing a government process based on his words. And his words, by the way, which didn't mean what the special counsel is accusing him of. Every single defendant from January 6th who has gone through the nightmare that they've experienced for the last year has been setting the precedent that the Department of Justice needs for how they're going to put Trump in prison. And Tanya Chutkan has been an integral part of this. So she presided over a dozen cases of January 6th defendants, and she is the only judge who sentenced, it was 11, not 12, sentenced these 11 defendants to more time in prison than the prosecution asked. So she increased the sentences from what the prosecution asked. And keep in mind, prosecutors usually ask for an amount of time in prison. It's like a negotiating table situation, right? They ask for more than they think they're going to get because the judge usually gives less. Well, Tanya Chutkan gave more than the prosecution asked for. More. There's not a chance in this world that she's going to do anything other than the bidding of what Joe Biden wants to be done. She will put President Trump in prison 100%. And you know who's a supporter of this whole process? This is kind of mind-blowing. Mike Pence. Mike Pence came out strongly against President Trump. Look at this tweet. We're going to bring this up on the screen. It says, today, he tweeted this 2 days ago when the indictment came down. He said, today's indictment serves as an important reminder. Anyone who puts himself over the Constitution should never be president of the United States. Like, what? 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 He might as well work. He might as well be a swamp creature. I don't understand who Mike Pence thinks is going to vote for him. Democrats hate him because he's a Christian, right? Because he's pro-life, because he doesn't think we should trans children. Democrats would never vote for him. They hated Mike Pence worse than they hated Donald Trump for a minute at the beginning of the 2016 campaign. Hi guys, it's Liz Wheeler. Don't forget to watch my show, The Liz Wheeler Show, every night at 7 p.m. on the First TV. You can download the free First TV app, or you can visit thefirsttv.com/Liz and start watching today.